Right. Good morning, good afternoon. We're all spread over the world, and I'm sure anyone listening is as well. I am here today, really happy to be here today with Lance Shuttler from Ascent Nutrition and Dr. Timo Tastutar from, well, Animal Expert. And you've seen him a lot on my Vibrant Animal Team videos. So, how are you both doing? Let's start with you, Lance, in sunny Florida. How are you doing?
Fantastic, Catherine. Thank you so much. It's really awesome to be here with both of you, and the energy is really good today. And I'm just very excited for what we're going to talk about and share. And we're going to help a lot of people and animals too.
Yeah, we sure are. And yesterday, when we were just setting this up, I asked Lance to send the son over to the UK, and you did. So the guinea pigs are out and happy. Thanks for sending that over, Lance. It worked. How are you doing, Timo? So you're in Poland.
Yes, and yeah, it's very nice today. Nice day. I'm eating my cherries from my own tree all the time. They are ripe and nice, and enjoying the weather also. I'm doing fine.
My strawberries have started growing, and I was just reading on the medical medium how great cherries are. So today we've got a really lovely conversation that I'm really, really looking forward to having with you two. I call them Brains 1 and Brains 2 because these guys are superpowers when it comes to balancing scientific knowledge with more the spiritual aspects of things, which you don't often get. So today we're going to be talking about brain health and its link to quantum consciousness. And there's so much interest in consciousness at the moment, and obviously can mean different things to different people. But really connecting in with much more than the academic side of things and the energetic side of things has never been more important than it is at the moment, in my opinion. What do you two think? Let's start with you, Lance. I mean, what does quantum consciousness mean to you?
That's a really great, deep question, Catherine. So to me, it means that we have unlimited thinking and limitless thinking, and that's just part of it. But quantum, meaning faster than light, and utilizing the brain in different ways that we can really optimize and pull in information and expand upon information, learn information, share information that is just cutting edge and doing it in ways that are going to help people. Because if it's quantum, it's communicating non-locally. And so we can share information and it can instantly resonate with someone, or a message that we might share, maybe they've heard it 100 times, but maybe something that's said in one different way or one different words used, it can just resonate and strike a chord with someone. And that, in my mind, is quantum consciousness, because it's information that resonates and strikes a chord, and it's just boom, right there.
Yeah, absolutely love all of that. What about you, Timo? I'm being polite before I jump in with my ideas.
No, I agree. It's very interesting because I read a lot about information theory and two-dimensional, so three-dimensional. I don't like the word quantum that much myself because I think there are other theories like field theory and this and that and this and that. So I'm on the fence about that. I'm not that deep into it. But on the other hand, I totally agree that every word, every thought, everything that was said or made is hanging in the universe and has an effect on everyone, more or less. And the effects on DNA and RNA is clearly also shown. So that means there is a certain type of, and also every cell and every cell wall has their own vibration and millivolts and electrical field that reacts to everything around all the time. So although I'm more skeptic about the more spiritual things, I am very open about the effects on everything beyond my imagination or knowledge.
This is why I love having these conversations, because we have so many deep conversations, don't we, guys? And it's so funny having spent so much of my life in the much more physical, biological field and studying the way that we're used in traditional science. Over the last sort of 15 years, I've almost moved so much over to the other because I've had such remarkable experiences of connecting at a quantum level, whether it's telepathically with people or animals in other areas of the planet, and just seeing the most remarkable healings that can happen from connecting into, whether you call it the divine matrix, the quantum field. You know, you all know I probably bore people by saying what a fan of Joe Dispenza I am, but I've literally seen it happen myself. And when, you know, as a species, quite often humans, we like to see things before we believe it. And now I've realized at my grand old age that actually it's almost the other way around. You've got to believe it before you see it. And this is why I love these conversations, because all three of us, we love looking at the scientific side of things and understanding how that has a huge impact. Like you were just mentioning then, Timo, about how it affects right down to the DNA level of the body, the expression of that I know, Lance, you are an absolute expert on, but also being open to all this untapped potential that we've all got, which is so, so exciting. So when you're, you know, working with people or products or healing or therapies, whatever it might be, when you really open yourself up, we all know that we haven't got all this junk DNA. So in terms of the quantum consciousness, let's have a little chat. Let's get back to the brain health and why is this such a big concern for people at the moment? You know, what is affecting the quality of brain health in both people and animals? And I don't mind who starts with that one.
Timo, please go ahead.
Well, first, I'm very, very upset because you said junk DNA, and you know that words have effect on DNA. So by calling the DNA junk, you just insulted the DNA.
But I said it wasn't junk. Look, I'll pour my flask of structured water over myself and then it will heal. You're so right, though. Words have a big effect. Slap me.
Right. So, yeah, the brain. Okay, so we don't understand brain totally. So this is first we have to start there, right? Many things happen in the brain. We know very well, and the neuroscientists really tapped into different things like cats watching human television, and their brain sees every face like cat face. Like every human they see on the television have a human body, but a cat face. So that means we don't see with our eyes, we don't hear with our ears, we don't feel with our skin. We do everything with the brain. So whatever brain makes is our reality. And everyone has a different reality because everyone has a different brain. So the color you have on you is not the same color what I see. And we can never see the same color because we have a total different processor, right? Or let's see, now you think that, oh, today is a dark day. But if you stay in total darkness for 20, 30 minutes, you start to see in the night. And suddenly the day is a very bright day because the night was actually bright enough for you to see. So you can see already how brain changes its own standards that you think they are standards but are not. And that's why the brain health is dependent on so many things. So as you know, I have a triangle, and the triangle is impulse, energy, and material, right? So anything to do with the biological body or organism, you have to have one of all three. So to brain to work properly, it needs impulse. That can be anything, an impulse. Then it needs energy to do it, physical energy. And it needs material to make it happen. So it needs to build itself, sugars and proteins, whatever. So in all three levels, you have impact on the brain. So whatever impulse you have has an impact on the brain. Whatever energy is coming in, it has an impact on the brain. Even your neurotransmitters depend on what you eat. So certain amino acids are fighting each other in the brain, who is dominant and which amino acid is going to be prevalent. So the neurotransmitter is more active, and so that means if you think that you have a body that regulates everything perfectly and your brain works the way it works, it's not like that. So everything you do from outside, from inside, has a huge impact on the health of your brain, not just function wise but structure wise. Right, I leave it there for Lance because he will go with a total different detail. But that's why I think when we talk about, for instance, I don't want to use the word, but there was a guy married with grown-up children. He would get sexually attracted to small children from time to time, but he would say himself that something is wrong with me. And they found out he was missing some crucial vitamin B vitamins. Whenever he got the vitamins back, his brain would work normal. And then when he was deficient again, suddenly we see these guys as predators, or let's say, but the brain is not functioning when something is structurally not there. So it is so important to understand the quality and the quantity of things we put inside has a huge impact on the function and output of the brain. So just wanted to put it there.
Anyone who's watching me, before we go over to Lance to carry on, normally I'd make a joke here about the difference between men and women's brains, but I can't do it with you two on, because it's pretty obvious you've got very highly functioning brains. So damn, that's that joke gone. So Lance, I mean, brain health, why is it so important that people are aware of this at the moment and some of the challenges that are facing people?
So many reasons. And Timo, everything that you said is incredible. And that's, I mean, I actually learned quite a lot, literally just right now, listening to you state that. And the things that I can add on to that, and Catherine, to your question, why is brain health and nervous system health so important? Well, because we live literally in a sea of energy. And as Timo has described, and you described, Catherine, on many of your shows, this isn't, a sort of spiritual concept, although it is very scientific. We literally are fields of energy, and the brain, the eyes, the nervous system, it's all connected. And so just like you said, Timo, we're seeing things around us, but what's happening right now is we're being bombarded in so many different ways with neurotoxins, with heavy metals, with electromagnetic fields that distort all of these different frequencies. And so one thing that I have really encouraged many people to do for a long time, and I do myself and continue to do it, is to ground in earth. It's free therapy for so many different reasons and ways. And when you do that, you start to literally neutralize some of the reactive oxygen species, the free radicals that are taking place naturally in the body, that naturally occurs through just basic metabolic respiration. But then secondly, when we're exposed to EMFs or when we're exposed to environmental toxins, those free radicals are generated much more quickly. And some of them can be, depending on the actual species of that reactive oxygen, it can be more or less harmful or damaging. So superoxide is a very potent, damaging free radical that literally destroys DNA. And so, earthing and grounding is just so immensely powerful and beneficial. We talked about this last time. There's over 20 human clinical studies on earthing and grounding. We know it works. It's a very simple test to just show that it actually is doing something electrophysiologically, that it is balancing our nervous system, and it does literally start to neutralize free radicals.
I would like to add something very interesting. So I don't know, some of your listeners or some of our audience might be very, Christian or very religious, but the human species evolved or lived the last 6,000 years, whatever you would like to look at, with no shoes. So, and being in contact with Earth totally and having your body tuned to it is an important aspect of your body's function. So once you take it away, put your rubber shoes on the whole day, if not your sandals or whatnot, and suddenly you are away from the Earth's earthing process 24/7. Even your bed is not organic. Nothing is organic. So everything you touch around is covered with something, polyurethane, this, that, plastics, whatnot. So we are living a life that is so against our biology, that is mind-boggling. And because we are living like that, we have to live with its consequences. And we put so much money and effort into understanding why natural life is better, which is also mind-boggling. So we should actually more research why shouldn't we live the way we live now, instead of why do we live not why should we live a natural life? And I'm also in that camp. So don't get me wrong. It's like we all are, because we all live in this funky, unrealistic, and totally artificial life.
There's so many good points you both raised there. So first and foremost, I'm obviously doing my husband a really big favour when he gets banished to the guinea pig shed then, because it's all natural bedding there. I told him I was doing him a favour. But more seriousness than it's really funny you were saying that, because I was just on my morning walk and I haven't put it up. If anyone's not joined my Instagram, please do, because I was just talking about the barefoot walking today. And I do at home. I mean, Timo, you've been to stay. You know that you and I do a lot of taking shoes off and walking barefoot.
Yep.
Is why my feet are not necessarily fit for public viewing, because we live on orange sand here. But when I haven't got those on, my next best thing for me is the minimalist or barefoot shoes, because then, okay, you still got something small between the separation, but you really get the feeling and you really connect in with nature. And it's so, so important. The other thing I've recently discovered, and I never thought a million years ago that you would get me promoting this, but it's the cold showers as well, because that's so good for brain health. Obviously, cold showers, immersing in cold water, etc. Good old Wim Hof has done so much to bring that to everyone's attention. Obviously, lots of other people have been using it before. But the cold showers are very, very important for brain health, taking inflammation down in the body, really stimulating the mitochondria, the immune system, the circulatory system. And I absolutely love them now. And these simple things that cost you nothing, take your shoes off and get in a body of cold water in some.
It actually costs you less.
Yeah, it costs you
water
less.
Doesn't use energy.
Exactly. And these are things that everyone can do. And what the three of us all really like to do is research and find and try and test out solutions, because we're all very well aware, like you were saying, Lance, about how much the impact of all these stressors, the EMF, the toxins, the pollutants, the information we're listening to, the food, the water, the air are having on brain health. Timo, you raised a really important point about the lack of certain nutrients having massive effect on behavior. And Timo and I work really, really a lot with animals, and we see that hugely, that when you start providing the right nutrition in a form that the animal of whatever species can absorb, most of the behavior issues go away. So it's so, so crucial to brain health that you do these sort of, simple biohacks. And isn't it funny we call them biohacks when they're really getting back to what we should have been doing?
Yeah, that's why I don't like the word hack much, because it's like you are not hacking anything. You bring back normal function.
Yeah, I always remember when I learned about all my herbal medicine, my grandma knew it all. I thought I was really clever, and she'd been brought up knowing all this and exactly what to use for everything. Yeah. So,
and some of the junk DNA that you insulted also include a lot of information for most of the animals, what foods they should choose or avoid. So they know it intrinsically because their DNA has the information about it. Now, but yeah,
sorry.
I want to bring something else to the table, because this is somehow not very publicly talked about, is that proteins and peptides are actually almost an organism by themselves. So what do I mean? Some proteins and peptides have the ability to pack and unpack in certain situations. And this packing and unpacking creates certain body reactions. Because, as we talked about, again, impulse, energy, material, the most important thing on the human body, or most of the organisms, is signaling. So I like to talk about it, as you know. So when you're very thirsty and you drink water, your thirst is gone, although none of that water is in your cells. So why is it gone? Because you signaled something. But you suddenly can walk on the hot Sahara 5 seconds ago, you were about to die. Now you feel like you can walk again, but although none of the water is in circulation yet. So what does that mean? It means that signals have a huge impact on your organism. And this is where spirituality come into play. I don't believe in normal spirituality, but I feel like there's so much that I don't know and happens in the signaling level. I accept their possibility. Just don't come me with Yahweh and stuff. So everything else is okay. So the thing is, because there is so much unknown in a certain level, and we can see the footsteps that we come closer and closer to the unknown and certain level, it shows that we are so susceptible as a species to be duped, to be taken advantage of, and that happens always in the subconscious level. And because the subconsciousness has such an impact as an impulse, as a signal giver to our body, we are suffering of so many things that we wouldn't suffer if subconsciously we wouldn't accept it. Does it make sense? So
Yeah.
that means we are accepting something as a signal that would be consciously not accept as a signal, but because subconsciously we are accepting it and we are bombarded by it, we suddenly start to have a brain function that is not normal anymore. It's not healthy anymore. And it changes the way we physically work. That means suddenly we have illnesses, problems, skin problems, joint problems, so many problems in so many levels, just because we are convinced subconsciously that what we are living is wrong or it's physically disturbing. I can give you an example. In Germany, this many years ago, they made a very funny TV show. They had take gummy bears, the jelly beans, and everyone is grown up with them. They know the tastes in Germany. So they changed the flavors but kept the colors. So suddenly every color had the wrong flavor. So they gave people blindly, they knew which flavor it was, but once they started to eat them by seeing them, they couldn't tell anymore what flavor it was, because the association between the color and the taste was disrupted, and the brain didn't know what to do with it. And this is so important because you have it all the time, that your brain is subject to so many different inputs that you are not aware of. And that input, if you are not nutritionally strong and fight against it with high vitamin C and adaptogens and whatnot, you suddenly cannot function anymore. Even if you eat and drink right, if you think that you are healthy and all that stuff, you are constantly under bombardment of things that have a super negative effect of your health. Sorry for the rambling. That's just too long.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And look at what's been happening over the last couple of years, whatever side of the fence you sit on, but anyone watching me will be very much a certain side of the fence, not believing and starting to see through the matrix and to realize that we're fed so much information that's not true. I mean, humans are the only species on the planet that follow unstable leaders and have forgotten how to feed themselves.
No, lemmings do that too.
Oh, okay. Look.
They jump.
Lance, is there a way on StreamYard to mute Timo? It's very tempting. But yeah, what do you think about all that, Lance? And then we'll get to the trampoline question.
Yeah, I mean, again, Timo, you're sharing a lot of very useful information and things that I think many people have probably not heard. And a lot of what you just said, I have not heard. So it's incredible. And exactly, we need all those different things, the signals, the nutrients, and, you know, the communication within the body to take place, because it's all dependent on light. Fritz Albert Popp, the biophysicist, stated this and showed this, that, you know, all of our physiology is based on light, and you know, there's a lot that we don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Massive. Now I'm going to get to a couple of questions, and then one of which I think when we get to Julie's question in a minute, but let's start to Susan's questions. Heard trampoline workouts are good for the brain. Anyone got any comments on that?
Yes, any workout is good for the brain, because more oxygen and more the more nutrients you can bring to the brain through better circulation, it will be always better for you. So it is good. Trampoline, but you have to be careful. If you are flat-footed or you have very, how do you say it, joint restrictions on your ankle, on your feet, the trampoline, every time you land on the trampoline, every force, every action has a reaction in the opposite direction. So that means you push your whole body weight to the trampoline and pushes you back with the same amount of force, which can be bad for your brain if you shake your brain all the time without having proper knee and ankle flexibility. But if you don't have those problems, yes, and trampoline is really, really efficient. It's really good.
Right. And as I agree, any exercise is good for the brain in so many different ways, because you're going to not only exercise will help flush out all the toxins, and toxicity is a huge problem with brain health, but also you're going to get every part of the body, and it's very good for stimulating the right hormones and happy hormones and everything. Yeah. So we've got a good question here from Julie, and I think this might link into some of your information, Lance. How can someone improve their memory? She's 65 years young. That's very young, Julie. And you have Post-it notes everywhere. Any suggestions for that, Lance?
Yes. I mean, there's so many different foods that a person can consume. Of course, the lifestyle practices that we talked about, getting sunlight in the morning, even if it's a cloudy, overcast day, if you can get outside and just view the natural light, you're actually still getting plenty of those photons for the receptors in the eyes to take in, and then those photons communicate, with our brain and the nervous system in ways that I'm about to describe in some pretty fascinating aspects with it. But all of those things that we've talked about that are free, and for exercise, like we know, even if it's something as simple as just walking, if that's all a person can do, that's great. Just walk. It's better than nothing. So all of those things, there's a lot of different foods that a person can consume, different mushrooms. And then of course, one of the most important things that us humans and animals are literally dependent on. So it's not just something that it's, cool to take or beneficial to take. Of course it is, but we're actually dependent on it. And our evolution of the species has been dependent on DHA. And so that's kind of what we'll get into here. And so, this I'll share right here. If you can see this, can you guys see this screen?
No, we can't see that at the moment. Hang on, here we are, add to screen. Right, there we go. I'm getting there.
Okay, now how about now?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So DHA, so that's an omega-3 fatty acid, but we'll kind of talk about this with light, getting light in the morning, and algae oil. And, the word that Timo isn't very fond of, the quantum brain, but we'll talk about some interesting aspects with this. And I hear you, Timo, on what you're saying with the quantum aspect, because there's so much that we don't know. How can we make certain claims? So, I'm with you on that. So, something that's been discovered, and this was back in 2012, was this neuroscientist named Michael Crawford, and he was the director of the Institute of Brain Chemistry and Human Nutrition in London. And he essentially, with this study, put out and said that DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, is more important than DNA itself. Okay, so that's obviously a huge claim, but he, presents his work in a paper titled "A Quantum Theory for the Irreplaceable Role of DHA in Neural Cell Signaling Throughout Evolution." So, what does that mean? It means that us as humans and animals, we've literally evolved with DHA, and DHA has been so energy efficient that it hasn't had to change in whatever it is, millions of years, billions of years, whatever the real number is. It hasn't had to change its functions because it's so efficient at what it does. And what it does is it accumulates in the eyes, the brain, the nervous system, the mitochondria, and the sperm, amongst other places. And what it will do is it will take those photons of light. So let's say, right now, the photons here in the daylight, I'm taking this in, we are, and that DHA is converting that literally electrical, or that light signal, the photons, that's light, and it's converting it into an electrical signal that the body then communicates off of. So just like Timo was talking about with energy and signals, this is exactly what DHA is doing. So it's literally a facilitator of photonic energy. And so some people literally call this a quantum technology built within the brain and the nervous system. And from like a technical stance of, definitions that are established, you could view it as a quantum processor for what it's doing. So, there's a lot more that I'll get into, but what are both your thoughts and feedback on that? Catherine, you obviously know about this. Timo, you do as well, but what do you both think?
Yeah, you start. You start.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely fantastic. We can see that these nutrients that have been missing from our diets for so long, and those of our animals, can have such a huge effect on our ability to perform at so many different levels. And this is absolutely crucial, because for reasons that we won't get into, what they've done to us here, so much of what we should be consuming to make our physical vessel and our spiritual vessel function effectively is no longer available to us. And when you're looking at what you're going to consume, it's so important that you take the whole picture into place, because yes, there's anyone can research the active ingredients of certain substances, but what you're often not told is the processing that those substances go through, which can have a dramatic effect on the bioavailability and the quality of what's available to you. So, I think it's absolutely essential that people know about these things. And it's quite interesting, until relatively recently, despite, having studied nutrition and all sorts of natural health for ages, I had no idea that it was quite as important as it is.
Yeah, so maybe we go back to one important thing. You said the word vessel. That's very interesting, because yes, sometimes DHA is far more important than the DNA itself for a cell's life, not replication, but life. Because there are tests where the DNA was totally removed from the cell, but the cell kept functioning as long as the cell wall was intact. And because the cell wall is the one that is this deciding of what comes in, what goes out, how the energy is produced. And cell wall is a mixture of proteins and DHA. So the DHA has a direct impact on the cell wall's quality, cell's character, cell's function, and cell's role in the body. Like the difference between a hair follicle and an eye cell or a tongue cell lies totally within the millivolts happening around their cell wall. And that energy is translated and created by the DHA that is a part of the cell wall. So I don't know if it makes any sense what I'm saying right now, but from our muscles to the cells to our skin, the cover, the sheath is the one that makes most of the decisions for the daily life and function, for the cell, for the muscle tissue, or for our whole body. Because these are the ones that are in contact with the outer realm of that entity. Does it make sense?
Absolutely, Timo.
It's just brilliant. I love all this. This is what I love about all this, is we're never too old to learn and make improvements in our life. So much of what we're taught, to me, the whole point about science is it's a continual questioning, answering process. And you ask questions and then you investigate those, and you ask and investigate. It's never set in stone. And this new knowledge that we're coming out with is so useful, because when people understand things like this, it really helps empower them to make really important decisions for their lives and those of their loved ones, including their animals. Because if you don't know this information, you might be thinking that you're doing something that's really beneficial, and it might not be helping much at all. So I love it, love it, love it, love it, all this level of detail. Can I just jump in, and because I don't want to forget Mary Ann's question. She's taking high grade and flavored moringa product. What do you think of that? I mean, obviously we don't know which exact brand or ingredient she's taking.
Yeah, moringa in general is great. Known as the miracle tree. I mean, I definitely support people taking it as long as it's a good, clean source.
I don't know much about moringa.
I know that they use it a lot in Zambia with the elephants, and the elephants self-select it massively, particularly when they're sick and in a recovery state. So yes, it's great. I would just be very careful to, I mean, you are saying, Marianne, it's a high grade one, so that's wonderful. I would just check out very carefully what the flavorings are and any additives for that. So we've got some Moonhug saying they love the fact that we're showing the products and the tips. It's so important, isn't it, both of you, to make sure, you know, there's so many different solutions for different people, and everyone's going to have different challenges in their life, living in different environments, on different diets, etc. So what's important is we've, you know, already touched on some of the things like the barefoot, the grounding. I know you're a real fan of sun gazing, aren't you, Lance?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, this morning, it was an unbelievable sunrise. You know, often, as everyone knows, the sun is often covered by the clouds, and, you know, even if it's just a faint cloud, it can block it. But this morning it was just clear and pure and just amazing. And yeah, just I love doing it as much as I can. And I want to tie in with that, Catherine, also to what you were talking about, Timo, with the cellular membranes and you know, the energy and the voltage involved in that. So you can see in this photo, they've worked out math where they've tested the voltage across a neuronal membrane. So what's the voltage of a neuron, or what's happening electrically right there, and then comparing it to what's needed to produce lightning in a thunderstorm. So to produce lightning outside, it takes about 3 million volts per meter, and that's the electrostatic potential to create lightning. Okay. But the voltage in the brain is 14 million volts per meter. And the reason is because there's so much energy, and the neuronal membrane, as Timo was saying, is so thin and so small that it just creates literally voltage that's almost 5 times stronger than what's needed to produce lightning. So we really are powerful creators, and we have lightning right here, and we can use it to do a lot of incredible things. And as Timo was saying, we need the energy transmission, and DHA is literally doing this because it is a fundamental component within those neuronal membranes. And so it's facilitating the movement of light and energy. Simple as that. But what that does is it creates that strong electrostatic potential within our brain and throughout the body.
Yeah, and I want to add something interesting to that, because that's very nice. I'm going to connect two things. First of all, we talked about light going through the eyes and having direct impact on the brain, and light gazing. So we have two main problems right now in the society. Dogs don't have that as much as we have as humans, but we get most of the light source into our eyes through LED panels, from a telephone, LED lights at home, which are direct light sources, not indirect like the sunlight. And this messes up with our brain too. So that means the light source it's so artificial that our body doesn't know what to do with it properly. And most of the children, including mine, if I don't force them, never look at the horizon in any part of the day. Like no one looks in a certain age to the horizon or goes stargazing. That means the brain doesn't have the impact of something far away, and you don't have this three-dimensional view of your world anymore, in a sense that you are a small piece of this whole big thing. What you know is what you see on your phone or on your computer or your TV panel, and the only light you get is the one that is in your home from an LED source. And that's horrible. Like it messes up with the brain and the health and nervous system so much that that's why I like to go for long bike rides, 50 kilometers something, at the sunset. And I always ride direction sun as much as I can. And I really enjoy that time. And it really does me well. I always have a huge grin in my mouth, on my face, the moment I can do that. I feel really privileged because right now, especially in winter months, think about what the kids are going through. 7 o'clock, they're already in a school with artificial lights and get out artificial lights. So no real sunlight, no horizon, no sun gazing, no stargazing. Like everything that the humankind evolved in is gone. It's like not there anymore.
And can I just add to that before we get to Lance's beautiful diagram? We've got to, don't worry, Sharon and Rachel, we're coming to your questions in a minute. Of course, it's what we're absorbing in through our eyes, but also being very conscious of what information you're listening to as well, because says me doing this on YouTube with my lovely guests, but it's really, really important that you take time to disconnect from those sources and connect in with nature and yourself, because this energy is coming to all your different sensual receptors at all times. And it's so, so important that we take time to switch off those external influences that might not be serve us, to make more time for, like Timo was just explaining, for the ones that do. So Lance, before we get on to the questions, looks like you've got a good little diagram there for us.
Yes, definitely. So, the question was asked earlier, Catherine, what can a person do to help their brain for memory, cognition, recall, clarity? Obviously, we're talking about DHA, and I'm going to talk about some specifics of why it's so good. And there's really some fascinating things with this that stand out from a lot of different things. But one specific thing is the process of neurogenesis. Okay, we know that neurogenesis takes place, and what that means is neurons can be repaired that are damaged, and then also the connections between neurons, those can strengthen and also be repaired, and new neurons in and of themselves can be created, and that's really what we're looking for. So this is like a process of neurogenesis over a period of days into weeks, and this is clearly what we're looking for. And it looks like a tree. It's all just a hologram. It's a fractal hologram of what's happening in the brain, out in the universe, and what's happening in the natural world. So if we can do things that support this process, we will support our mood, our clarity, recall, memory, things like that. Now, there's a lot of foods and nutrients out there that are, phenomenal for the brain. All these amino acids that Timo was talking about, clearly those are essential. And there's also essential fats. So DHA and EPA, but specifically DHA for the brain and nervous system, is essential and very important. And again, it's fundamental. And so I really like to step back and think about this, from just a basic level of, okay, we've all been exposed to so many different cool nutrients and compounds, and, so many of them work and they're important. But let's look at what's the basic biological needs of the human body and begin there. Because when we do that, if you have your bases covered, then any of the cool things that you add on is really only going to be enhanced. And so again, because we have evolved so heavily and dependently on DHA, let's look at DHA because it's doing all these things that we need. So there's 10 different things. I'm not going to go through all 10, but I'm going to share just a couple of why DHA is so unique to all these other nootropics and brain enhancing nutrients. So one specific thing, there's a couple proteins that can be upregulated, the expression of them. One's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and one is called nerve growth factor. And these are neurotrophins that do what we just talked about with neurogenesis: repair damaged neurons and strengthen the connections between them. Now, why is this unique? Is that there's not many foods out there or compounds that are going to upregulate both BDNF and NGF, okay? And then let alone, additionally, DHA also upregulates synaptomide production, which is another compound that promotes neurogenesis and neurite outgrowth. And DHA is it's a precursor to synaptomide. So what that means is, for healthy levels of synaptomide to be produced naturally, we need DHA and we need adequate amounts. And then again, there's many different genes that are positively expressed with adequate DHA amounts. And then it also ties into the brain's pacemaker, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN. And this regulates light and dark cycles, melatonin, and it really balances our circadian rhythm. So those are a few things. And then DHA has been shown to support memory and reaction time. And then, of course, it's been also shown to raise children's IQs when given to pregnant and lactating mothers. So again, fundamental, and it's so complex and so beautiful that it helps us in so many different ways. And there's really no compounds out there that's doing that many things to support the brain and nervous system.
I just want to add something for clarification. Gene expression means how that gene expresses itself by producing the right things that is according to its function. And not every gene that you have in your body is active, and not all of them are in the same activity level. That means there are some genes in you that might be very helpful for you, but they are not expressed properly, so you cannot produce that thing. So according to this system, the DHA will help you, or help your genes to be expressed, that repair your nervous system and let your nervous system be strong again. So that's what is actually said with expression levels.
Thank you, Timo. That's amazing. And I'll just add on something, and then Catherine, you can pitch in anything else that you would like. So with the expression of those different genes, of course, we know that people have used omega-3s to support a healthy inflammatory response. And the reason is because it's doing just what you said, Timo. It's supporting the healthy expression of those genes. And there's several different ones, but some of the more common ones that have really been studied in different ways is the COX-2 gene and the genes around the COX system. And then also something that's very, very important and fascinating. We won't really go into it because it's a whole nother topic, but PPARs, peroxisome proliferator activator receptors. And these are just really incredible. We should talk about this next time. But it's doing some incredible things with that.
And just to let everyone know, I will make sure you can see this paper is on your website, isn't it, Lance?
Yes.
And I'll make sure the link, as soon as this is uploaded afterwards, I will share that link for everyone below the video, so you've all got access to that, because it's a wonderful paper. Now I just wanted to jump in with a couple of questions for all of us, please. Rachel has had a colitis attack, which has been very painful. Will the algae oil help reduce the inflammation? And then I've got some other suggestions as well. So if either of you have got any comments on that.
Timo, I mean, I'm happy to answer it.
I would be the last one. First, you two make it.
Sorry, say it again.
First, you two take your time. I will finish it.
Yeah. So definitely. I mean, okay. I should say this, that, we of course can't make treatment or cure claims or say that something's going to 100% work. But I would be very confident in that you're likely to experience a good health promoting effect, and it should help to promote a healthy inflammatory response.
Yeah, we have to be very, very careful, obviously, Rachel, with the words that we're using to make sure that we're not giving any medical advice. And the other thing I would be looking to supplement, to that, which you're probably already doing, Rachel, and happy for you to contact me directly on this, is also be looking at perhaps safely taking some of the toxins out of your body as well, which would really help make things like the algae oil work more effectively. So for anything like that, I'm very happy for you to contact me, offline, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, and one important warning about healthy inflammation, which is very important because we see inflammation as negative all the time. But if you hit yourself or you injure yourself, Actually, without the inflammation, you would never get enough nutrients to that spot. And that means healthy inflammation will happen. And you had the colitis because your body couldn't do anything else. So there is something going on. That can be nutrition, it can be your stress levels, it can be a combination of things, your environment, many things. So look at them closely and try to figure out what caused it, because that is not so easy to happen, especially at your nutrition. Yeah.
Brilliant. We've got a question here from Sharon about something I think we all love, the chaga mushrooms. Again, we can't make any specific claims, but any comments about those? And do you have any of those products available in your shop, Lance?
Not chaga just yet. We will in time. And we've also got a couple very unique mushrooms coming. Of course, the lion's mane, but another one, I won't share it just yet, but it's very, very powerful and it's very unique. And it's been studied in some pretty high level institutions, including Department of Defense and different military applications. But it's, very, very safe and beneficial for humans. And we've got that coming. But chaga, of course, it's amazing stuff. We don't have it at the moment, but we will. But, we've got the solution of what we've been talking about for the DHA because of, the source of what we have.
All right. So chaga is a mushroom that is highly effective, especially on the nervous system. So, and the nervous system is closely connected to your immune system, so it might have an impact there. But I always have very reserved feelings about claims that they are anti-cancer, because cancer is more or less an unregulated growth of your own body. And there are so many factors that play in this. So you cannot put all your hopes into one supplement to get rid of all the problems your body have and grow in an unregulated way. There are so many important steps to take to make sure that your body does not feed this unstoppable growth. And the real solution to cancer is just put your cancer to stop by just not giving it any nutrition and growth factors, and you don't push it anymore with whatever reason it is.
Yeah, and again, there's so much advice on that. And the way I think we all work is we work, really holistically in the true sense of the word. So when we're looking at working with clients on certain issues, we're looking at a trauma that's held in the scales, we're looking at nutrition, we're looking at the environmental stresses, we're looking at the EMFs. I know someone mentioned above that they're very, very sensitive to the EMFs. So it is a really great questions, everyone. And we've had some comments about how lovely it is to have such brainy men on, and I will be persuading them, I hope, to come back on again, because these discussions are just so up my street, and I really hope they're helpful. Now, we've got a question from Julie on Facebook. Hi, Julie, one of my friends. Lance, is it safe to stare directly at the sun? Because we're so often told that it's not, aren't we?
Yeah. My understanding in my research, what I've learned is that it's safe for the most part up to 45 minutes up. And I say for the most part because, of course, everyone's going to be different, and it will depend on how much DHA you're consuming. Because if you're sun gazing and you're not getting adequate amounts of DHA, because DHA is oxidized, that's why we need to continually consume it, because it's oxidized by light, because it's facilitating those photons, and so we need it. But looking at the sun, definitely. Obviously, you don't really want to do it at noon. But the evening and sunrise, first 45 minutes, last 45, is typically regarded as safe. And obviously you want to build up to it too. You don't want to just jump in 45 minutes straight, because you can and probably will burn the retinas.
Yeah. And I would also add that, a lot of people who are watching this be very well aware that a lot of things that we've been told to do for our health, like applying sunscreen, wearing sunglasses all the time, can actually be very detrimental. That's a good look, Timo. Anyone seen the new Tom Cruise film, The Top Gun?
Not yet.
But yeah, so I think, it's very good advice from Lance. It's really, really important with all these things that you research and build up gradually. However, it's not an accident that we were born without shoes on and without sunglasses on and without sun cream. Although I do think it was a mistake to lose the fur, because I'd quite like to be furry. That's a different discussion altogether. Everyone's really appreciating the information. Another good question, and then we'll sort of wrap it up because we've been on for nearly an hour. Really lovely interaction. Thank you, everyone. Susan, can stimulating the vestibular sense also help enhance memory?
Timo, please go ahead.
I think this has something to do with hearing and your balance, but maybe we get Susan explains us what she means.
Yeah, can we have a little bit more detail on that one, Susan, just so that we can see?
Yeah. Till then, about sun gazing. Well, it depends on where on Earth you are situated, because Earth is a globe, and the place you are in has a different angle to the sunlight you are getting. So if you are up north or up south, really, or down south, depends on where you are, your angle to the UV light that comes directly from the sun is totally different than someone's that's on the equatorial line or close in the first two tropics. So if you are more north and more south, especially in winter months, you cannot burn your retina. It's almost impossible because the angle is so off, it's so low. You can look there, but you start slow, because I like to look at the sun, especially in the sunset, and I never had a visual problem after that. But I'm not offering you a guarantee. I just say I do it, and it doesn't burn my eyes yet.
Yeah. So we've had so much good discussion. I'm really appreciative for the wonderful questions that we've asked. We would like to know, and obviously I will then, for everyone, when it goes live, it takes a little bit of time for this to upload to YouTube, and then I can go back in and change the links. So first of all, Lance, we've got a lot of links under there where you can find all Lance's products. And the reason why Timo and I love them so much is because we've tried and tested them, and we know how pedantic Lance is about quality. So Lance, where can people find you?
LanceShuttler.com, and of course at those links that you were talking about, Catherine. And I'll just finish up with one last aspect with this algae oil, because it's important to tie it all together. So, like we've talked about, the fish eat the algae make the DHA. And so if you want to go to the source of DHA and the cleanest source, you go to the algae. And that's the best source, the most potent and the purest of DHA. And what we have brought out, and what Catherine and Timo are talking about for these products, is this algae oil DHA from Ascent Nutrition. And we have third-party tested this to show it's clean. It's coming back clean for microbial testing and heavy metals. And then also it's in a graduated glass dropper. And so you can provide the amounts that you want to do very easily. You can see it. It's easy to, give yourself a good amount. The studies show that a person wants to be around 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of DHA per day if you really want to support the brain and nervous system in the best ways. Most people are, so that would come out to about 7,000 to 14,000 milligrams per week. Most people are only getting about 2,400 milligrams per week. And so, if someone's eating salmon or, some other fish source, you're getting that DHA and EPA. But if you want to get up to the, 7,000 to 14,000 milligrams per week, then this is a very easy solution to do it, because you can see the amounts and you can just easily add on. So, if a person's having salmon and they're getting, let's say, half the amount throughout the week, you can go up to the next level and get up to the healthy levels of it by just simply, adding in the algae. So it's really a win-win for everyone, regardless of one's diet. And of course, it helps the pets just as much as us. And they love it too. So that's what I'll share. And then Catherine, please continue.
Yeah, so what I will make sure, so we've got the links to get the products under the videos, and then I will add in Shuttler.com. Now, Timo, how can people get hold of you?
Well, just they should contact you, and my link is there too if you want to do anything with me. But I'm normally not that available as as you are. I just want to say one thing. I'm sure that you have some audience from Scotland. Please don't deep fry the algae oil. Omega-3 is highly susceptible to high temperature. So do not cook it. Do not just put it into your food and think that it's going to help you a lot. Try to get it raw and consume it raw. So, and the last thing about Lance, actually Lance's surname fits perfectly to what he's doing, because in German, his surname would be Shuttler, which means who's shaking, like creating new stuff, shaking, making new cocktails.
Amazing, Timo. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Shuttler, yeah.
Yeah, so we've just gone over the hour, so I will let these two lovely gentlemen go. I really appreciate everyone who's been watching. Lance and Timo, thank you so much. I think these conversations are so important. Certainly I, on a personal level, absolutely love them, because we all love the balance of the science, and we're going to get Timo up there with the spirituality.
Yeah.
You can see he loves it, really. There's just the resistance there. But no, in all seriousness, it's wonderful to have these challenges, because you know, if we all thought the same, we're never going to learn. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. We really appreciate it. If anyone wants to get Lance's links will be below. If anyone wants to get hold of Timo, please get hold of him through me, because he doesn't have a website as such that people can go to. There's lots of Timo and my information on the Vibrant Animal Team, the Animals playlist on YouTube. And also we've got our dog and cat nutrition courses. The links are below the video. And we've got lots more courses we're going to be doing when we get some time. And please also, it would be very, very grateful if any of you have got some suggestions for future topics that you'd like, leave the comments below the video, and I will then have a word and see if we can persuade them to come back. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Timo.
Thanks, everyone,
for watching. And thank you very much for Andrea for being so amazing and putting all the links in. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.